Welcome, everybody, to the R&amp Catcast, a fan-based podcast focusing on Montana State athletics. We're two dudes named Ryan from the state of Washington talking about our dear Montana State. We hope you enjoy it. All right, welcome back, Bobcat fans. Thanks for joining us on another episode of the R&R Instant Reaction Show. We're here to break down around the Big Sky and talk about Montana State's homecoming win over Portland State. Thorny, how are you doing, buddy?
Doing good, man. How you doing?
I'm all right. Wife's been gone all day, so I just been kind of doing dad duty, but that means we went out to Buffalo Wild Wings, had some wings for dinner, which my wife would not appreciate, but she's not around. Things like that happen.
That's so funny because my wife has been working really late hours, including today with her job during inventory week. And last night, I took the kids to Buffalo Wild Wings. I was like, yeah, we'll just drive down there. We'll watch some sports. We'll have some food. That was pretty funny. Apparently, we have similar minds. Did I text you a picture, like something about being in a sports bar makes me feel good?
Yeah.
That was a picture of Buffalo Wild Wings in Bellingham.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's funny. Maybe that's what inceptioned you or something. Maybe gave you the idea. It's like, oh, sports bar. Buffalo Wild Wings.
It was a classic. I hadn't eaten anything all day, doing chores around the house. Went on a run this morning and then just overindulged in Buffalo Wild Wings. So now I'm feeling a little full, and that's where I'm at. Full and tired, but happy as a Bobcat fan.
Happy, yeah, for the most part. We'll get into that. But yeah, overall, good day.
All right, well, let's break down the Big Sky. We'll start with Northern Arizona. No? That game. How about we hold off on the two games that are live right now? We'll start with Weber State, Northern Colorado.
Ugh.
Weber State comes back to beat Northern Colorado 28-21. At one point, they were down like 21-7, 21-3 or something like that.
I think it's 21-7 is the worst.
You couldn't have had three, yeah. That would have been multiples of 7 right there. But I don't know if that's just a hangover from Montana State, or maybe Weber State's just not that good this year. It was a little bit of fool's gold early on. I thought Weber State was looking pretty good before they played us. But to struggle against Northern Colorado is something. So to be determined for those guys.
Yeah, they did come back, had a pick six with a couple minutes left to seal the deal. Not a good follow-up because that was, it's on the road. But yeah, is Weber good or not? I don't know yet. It's not looking good for them, though.
No.
Basically, for 7 quarters of football until that fourth quarter, they scored a touchdown.
Ooh.
1 touchdown in 7 quarters of football is not going to win a lot of football games against anybody. All right.
Given the fact that their head coach is their OC, that's concerning.
Well, not necessarily. Troy Taylor was the OC at Sac State. That worked out.
Yeah. I'm just saying they haven't been lining it up.
I got you. I see what you're saying. Yeah, Troy Taylor's teams were very good offensively. Speaking of two good offensive teams, Idaho and Eastern Washington kind of got into a shootout today. Shocking. 44-36. Idaho comes out ahead on that one. They were winning by a couple touchdowns. Eastern Washington scored late, and then Idaho salted the game away with a couple first downs. After a big day for their running backs, they ran all over the Eagles, which has got to make Bobcat fans drool for that matchup. If Eastern's going to play run defense like that, good luck. But 44-36, Eagles almost won without their starter, whose name I still don't know.
Vesperis,
Kiko Vesperis, or something around there. He did not play, so pretty good, decent showing by Eastern Washington with him not in the game. But ultimately, yeah, they fall short.
Idaho put up 363 rushing yards on the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
But Eastern put up 226 rushing yards on the Vandals.
Yeah.
That's kind of surprising.
Yeah, it was a track meet. Not a lot of yards, but lots of points somehow.
Yeah. All right. Well, down in Missoula, they had homecoming. They beat Idaho State 28-20. That game was close. I did watch that game. I went back and watched it when I got home from Buffalo Wild Wings. And it's an interesting game. I don't know. The Grizzlies look really mediocre to me. The Bengals look like they can sling it around. They have a quarterback, Cook, who has a lively arm. He can make a lot of throws. And he just beat their pressure, which good plan for Idaho State. They hung in there. They had a chance to tie it up late, but they threw a pick where their receiver just didn't know the route, and the Grizzly cornerback just happened to be right there, and it sealed the deal. But yeah, only other thing to note on the Grizz game, they went with Clifton McDowell, their second string quarterback. I guess not second string, their other quarterback, not Sam Vidlak. And he did okay. He had like 100 and some yards through the air. So let's see, what did he have? He had 160 in the air, 13 for 20. That's not bad. He doesn't throw a nice ball. Had a couple big chunk plays to like Bergen and those guys, but it wasn't anything really threatening. Like you weren't watching the Grizzlies going, oh, they're back. You're watching them going, all right.
I didn't watch too much of this. I caught here and there. I see Clifton McDowell ran the ball 20 times. So did the Grizz like just turn into trying to mimic what the Cats do?
Well, Clifton McDowell, he's more of their RPO kind of guy, and so it's just more of the play calling.
Sure. Okay. Well, I didn't answer my question at all, but all right, let's move on to the next. I'm just curious if it look like the Cats. If they got a quarterback that can't throw the ball a lot, but they ran him a bunch. Just kind of curious. I didn't watch much of the game. I would like to note that it is a big win for the Grizz because they beat the first place Idaho State, previously first place Idaho State. If you caught that little bit from Bobby Houck, I think it was his Monday press conference, he was saying that they got a big game to focus on with first place Idaho State coming to town. And apparently he said it with a straight face. They were technically tied for first place with a bunch of other teams that 1-0. So, gosh. But still, pretty funny. There was a good laugh about that in the Big Sky Podcast Network. But yeah, Grizz, man, at home, 8-point win over Idaho State, who's won, 3 times in 40 years, I think I heard before the game started, something ridiculous. Eked out a home game win against Ferris State. The Grizz are in trouble, I think.
Unless they start playing like better, like galvanize the team somehow, I'm not sure where they go from here because they just don't look like they have the dudes.
No,
especially their O-line. That's one thing that I kind of noticed is they don't have it. They're not gelling. Anyways, right. 2 games still going right now at this time.
Yep.
Now UC Davis is putting it on Cal Poly 31-7. That's at the end of the third. And then we have kind of a back and forth battle with Northern Arizona and the Stingers. Stingers are up right now, 24-21. Northern Arizona just keeps punching them in the mouth, though. So that's something to watch right there.
Yeah, it looks like NAU is driving, according to my Gamecast here, down by 3, right before halftime, trying to take the lead. Is NAU? Did they find something with that quarterback?
They might have.
Sometimes that's all it takes, man. Like you think you have something, and all of a sudden it's not working, and you try something different, and all of a sudden teams can take off from that kind of weird stuff.
Gosh, yeah. When Arizona was dead to rights right before they played the Grizzlies, I was like, man, like Chris Paul's going to be fired, and they have some life. They're kicking right now, at least.
If they beat the Grizz and then they beat Sac State back-to-back weeks, it's a good stretch for NAU. It might springboard them to a season that keeps Chris Paul around for another season, maybe.
Just enough to keep him around.
So we started doing kind of the Dakota watch or something. I don't know what we called it, the top tier watch. But North Dakota State goes down to South Dakota. I don't want to spend too much time on this game because we're already 9 minutes into this short instant reaction show that's supposed to be about the Bobcats. But yeah, upset Saturday, man. North Dakota State loses to South Dakota. William and Mary lost. I'm not sure to who they lost to. Holy Cross lost to Harvard. It was a crazy day, man. All of a sudden, the Cats are the clear number 2 team in the country, and I was going to be super obnoxious about anybody that was arguing about North Dakota State clearly being the number 2 team over Montana State. Blah 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 on Twitter. Haven't got there yet. I've been busy, but yeah, it was a interesting day in the national landscape for sure.
I like Montana State being number 2. That's a huge thing, especially if they can hold for the seedings, right? Yes. But losing to South Dakota, that's a bad loss for North Dakota State. I don't know if South Dakota State was even or South Dakota was even ranked.
No, but they're like 3-1 now or something like that with all 3 wins over FCS or something. So they will be.
Yep.
They will be.
All right.
Okay. Anything else you want to say about any of that junk?
Quickly, the midseason is approaching us. I was just reflecting on that. We have a bye week next week and halfway through the regular season already. It's kind of wild.
I don't know. I feel kind of robbed a little bit myself because I was overseas, which was great and it was awesome. But it's like all of a sudden, like I've seen like I watched 3 games now out of the 5 that we've had. It just feels weird. But yeah, crazy. We're already at the bye week, almost halfway there.
We'll have to discuss our plans for the bye week. To look back in past season and see what we did. We can get like a player on or some sort of interview.
Could do
Kind of
that.
fun.
All right. Well, we want to start off with the good,
Yeah.
the okay, and the bad.
Well, got a good for us. We held Portland State to 22 points. It could have easily been less than that, and they had been averaging over 40. So come away from this game feeling a little bit of blah, a little bit of meh, and a little huh. But if you actually parse into the stats, Montana State held them to 22 points. That's a pretty good showing, especially how dynamic their offense appeared to be. So,
yeah, I think all the guys that I had researched that I wasn't sure how their game would translate against an opponent like Montana State, like that Grubbs guy, obviously Chachere. I mean, they got some dudes, man. They got some players. Portland State always does, right? They're always like the team that has like almost the most guys in the NFL every year because they have talented guys. What do they say on the broadcast? Like 10 of the guys were FBS transfers or something like that. But yeah, it's good to hold them to 22 points. I think they're below their average in like every single statistical category. Their down conversions, rushing 184 yards we gave up, but that's only 4.5 yards per carry. So not great, but not terrible. Two turnovers. I mean, yeah, I think holding them to 22 points. I mean, I guess I'll put that in the good. It could go in the okay category too, because they scored more than South Dakota State did in Brookings, but it's okay. But one of those drives was heavily aided by some penalties. Heavily. Like 80% of the yards.
Stopped him on third down. Nope. Here we go again.
Yeah, and there was another drive where they punted, and then we got a penalty for having 12 men on the field. We made them punt twice in one drive, and they still ended up punting on that drive. It's like, goodness. The Cats were trying pretty hard to lose the game in a lot of ways. So that's in my bad category. Penalties. Referees are not
about the good, Thorny.
No,
Don't jump to the bad.
Okay, all right. We'll be
good.
Systematic for you. Good. Sean Chambers, pretty good. I could almost put him in the okay category. His passing's probably okay, but his running was obviously very good. Four carries for 118 yards and a touchdown. 14 for 21 for 143 through the air and 3 touchdowns. I mean, the stats, if you're looking at it, that's actually pretty good. 14 and 21, 143 yards, 3 touchdowns. But he threw some questionable balls at times. But overall, I put Sean Chambers in the good category.
I have 5 sacks in the good category.
I think we're going to hit that over under. Someone asked us if we'll hit 40, right, for the year. I think that was the number. I think we're well on our way.
I kind of remember that. Where's that stat come from? Probably like a look in past years.
It might have been like, I think it was a Jeff Choate said he always wanted to get 40 sacks a year.
Huh.
I think that's where it came from.
One of them would like ring something in my brain that doesn't hit anywhere. Anyways,
yeah,
Blake Heel.
Yeah, Blake Heel. Yeah, thank you.
He was another good bright spot. He had back-to-back big time plays. He had a back-to-back sack and a tackle for loss win in the third quarter when we were trying to essentially after that, it felt like the game was in hand, but that was kind of a punctuation mark at that moment.
Yeah, he's a slippery guy to get a hold of, Dante Chachere. So getting that many sacks against him was really good. And Brody Grebe, man, he was wrecking that poor right guard or right tackle. Excuse me. He was just abusing that guy. And then he should have had another one, or the drive should have ended. Of course, Brody got a roughing the passer, which I think was warranted. I think that one was fair enough. But geez, he was a machine out there.
Any others in the good? That's all I had.
Trayton Pickering, tight ends. Using the tight ends. Foley, how are you not going to talk about that? Something you've been harping on all year. We threw it to tight ends for 8 times for 81 yards and 2 touchdowns.
That's a good point. I haven't dove into the stats yet.
I just happen to have it up, but that's the reason I even remember it. But yeah, I loved how we utilized Derek Snell with some shovel passes. I love seeing some shovel passes back. We tried it like 3 or 4 times. That little touchdown at the very end to Snell. Yeah, I loved it. I love getting the tight ends involved, man. Derek Snell is a capable catcher and a pass route runner and a runner of the football after he has the ball in his hands too. He's good at all that stuff. So it's good to see us utilizing him more in that way.
Another thing in the good is we seem to have quite a bit of chunk plays. We'll try to figure out how many on Monday when we record. But if you kind of spring load that into the okay, we didn't put a lot of like grinding out type of like lean on you drives.
No.
And that's reflected in the time of possession. Also the number of plays. They had 34 minutes and we had 25 minutes time of possession. I can't remember how many plays. I think they ran like almost 20 more plays than us though. I was looking at that earlier. So that'd be okay. Big plays are fun, but I kind of like when we can grind it out when we need to.
Let's see. Portland State would have ran 67 plays and we ran 51. So yeah, pretty big disparity there.
Funny.
Yeah. Pretty big disparity. 2 turnovers helped. Good. Yeah, good turnovers. Just getting pressure on the quarterback, getting some interceptions. Were they both? Yeah, they're both interceptions. So that was good. Good to see that.
All right. Okay. I put Chambers in the okay. Specifically his passing. Missing wide open Jared White down the middle.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Dang it. That was painful, man.
He was.
You don't get any more wide open
as you possibly can get, and Chambers just let it off hot. And some of his passes over the middle
dangerous
were exactly that. We're just hot. And actually saved us a couple times because I think they were too hot to handle for some of the defenders, or else we would have had an interception or 2. He just was off a little bit today. Maybe a little juiced early on. Not sure. He seemed more of in a flow last game, which makes me think that we need some like easy completions for him early on just to get him going.
So I was going to put this probably in the... I wasn't sure where I was going to put it. I could put it here because this builds on this. I didn't love switching off the offense we ran against Weber State. Now, I know it's going to be dependent on your opponent, but all of a sudden he was back in shotgun and doing like zone read stuff instead of the play action rollouts from under center, which I loved against Weber State. Like we just completely went away from that. And I think we kind of struggled to get back into a flow with it. And maybe Chambers is at his best when he's rolling out and he's just sitting there waiting for guys to get open rather than sitting in the pocket with that collapsing around him and trying to force something in. So maybe Housewright and staff didn't do Chambers favors against Portland State. Maybe that's not his best use of him.
Yeah.
I didn't love going away
short
from that
passes either.
No, it was either like over the middle for like 10 yards or bombs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I forgot to put a couple quick hitters in the good. Had some arrows drawn that I forgot. See, I read mine out and I missed it, so I put some arrows. Anyways, sticks. That's what I'm calling Brendan Hall. It's not stilts, sticks. Sticks hit 3 for 3 on the extra points. His extra points looked a lot better. He wasn't slicing the ball. He wasn't slicing the ball. Pushing it. Blocking it. Ty McCulloch. First time we got to see him. Dude looks insanely fast. He had like 14 yards of punt returns, but those 14 yards of punt return caught my eye. It's like, whoa. He took a vicious hit, too, on the sideline. And talk about targeting, right? And that could have been targeting. Well, it was way more targeting than Nolan Askelsted's was.
Oh, gosh.
Like, I don't even think Nolan grazed him.
He like
was weird.
Face mask like grazed him. That wouldn't have... yeah. That was... If we're in the bad category, the ugly category is officiating in some aspects. But yeah, Ty McCulloch took that like end around or something like that, and he got tripped up, but you could see the speed he's a fluid-looking runner. If he wouldn't have gotten barely tripped off, he would have had a huge gain on that play. I think he'll be a weapon. Good to have him back. Good to have him
He touched the
not
ball.
back. Good to have him. Yeah. They call it
to see. He's electric.
They call it a reception, looks like. So it must have been a little pop pass thing. So, okay. So anything else in the okay category here? Tackling bad or good or okay? What do you think? Tackling, which category to put that in?
Early on, it was bad. Later on, I thought we did better, so I'll give it okay.
Yeah.
Wasn't elite like we saw last week.
No.
It's a work upon. Ryan Foley's work upon.
It's a work upon. Yeah, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great. So it was kind of average. So that puts it right in the okay category. Let's see, what else do we got? I'm trying to think. I didn't write anything down for this, so this is kind of just flying off the cuff. That's what the instant reactions are supposed to be. We're going to miss things that we'll come back to on Monday. So I think I'm probably good in the okay category.
Yeah. One of our listeners texted me. He's like, I'm interested to see what you guys are going to say because this game feels so blah to me. It's like, yeah, well, we'll find something to talk about, but
we have so many of those games. It's a good win. Man.
It's like one of those wins where you're happy you got it, but you wish you were a little bit more dominant because you felt really dominant last week. And you're like, Portland State, we should be able to roll these guys. Well, Portland State was a little more pesky than we all wanted Portland State to be.
Yeah, we should realize by now, Bruce Barnum teams don't quit. They played hard. They play hard for Bruce, and he had those guys ready to go. And we eventually wore them down and got some stuff going. The offensive line did eventually wear them down. But yeah, it was a game where maybe you felt like it should have come out hotter and put them away earlier, but we did put them away. That's the important part, especially on an upset Saturday. We could be sitting there like North Dakota State with the loss, the big L on the record. We got out with a 2-touchdown victory, and Portland State scored there with like 3 minutes left to even bring it to that. So,
Portland State better than you thought they would be?
Yes. It looked like they had some talent when I was watching like highlights and stuff, but you're watching them against North American University and Cal Poly. So like, how does that translate? It's hard to tell. I think it translated relatively well. They had some big guys, well. Man. They got some big, mean guys.
Yeah. I thought they tackled well. They were pretty physical, which was kind of been a hallmark for them.
Yes, Bruce Barnum, man.
Past. I was just really impressed with their running. They were able to run the ball up the middle of our defense. They were getting like at one point like almost 6 yards a carry through the A gap. That's kind of wild to see.
I do want to put, speaking of that, before we get out here, back in the good category, because I just thought of something. I thought our halftime adjustments on defense were really good.
Okay.
I feel like that hasn't really been the case. I actually feel like we changed some things up and shut them down. I noticed in the beginning of the game, we had our defensive linemen like lined way out to the sides. Like there was nobody in the middle. Did you notice that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, every time we do that, I'm not sure what we're actually looking for. But we were only committing 4 people to the run. So, not bad for those guys. I mean, we had some really splash plays in the backfield, too. Like, early on, Blake Schmidt.
Yeah.
It's really nice. Tackles for a loss. But there were some plays where our defensive line would just collapse. And we would not set the edge. We would get sucked in. Like, I remember one time Ryan Lenort came in and Dante Chachere just galloped for like 20 yards, it felt like. And you're like, man, no one was even on that weak side to push it anything to set the boundary anywhere. And you're like, oh man, how does that even happen? Like that cannot happen.
Yeah, there was one of Chachere's, I think his first touchdown run. He bust out to the right side, and I think McCade O'Reilly crashed into the line and didn't have containment, and he should have just forced him inside and not let him get around him, and then he just galloped into the end zone, like you said. But Chachere is a good player, man. Like, I want to give credit to Chachere. He's one of the more impressive dual threat quarterbacks I've seen in Bobcat Stadium in some time. Kind of
agree with that.
Like a poor man's Cam Newton, he reminds me of a little bit.
Yeah, we haven't really faced that many great quarterbacks in Bobcat Stadium. To note, off the top of my head lately.
No, last one that's coming to my mind was beat Kevin Thompson, the homecoming game that we went to. That's the last game the Bobcats lost at home, I think. So good for us.
That's probably true. Yeah.
That's funny. So, all right. Anything else you want to say about Portland State? We'll have a lot more to say about it on Monday. I do have more to say probably when I look back on it, but right now I think I'm feeling pretty good about it. We're getting 25 minutes into this bad boy already.
Yeah, I'm looking at the bad. We haven't really voiced the bad, but that drive in the second quarter where we had them stop 3 times, and then each time we were personal fouls, giving them 15 yards and then aiding them down the field, and they score. It's just really frustrating.
That was one of the most frustrating drives I've ever seen in my life. So obnoxious.
First half of football. Well, it's pretty frustrating this game. I don't think not as frustrating as the second half of football against South Dakota State, but it was up there. It was just like, man, we should be. It's clear that Montana State was better, but we were just letting these guys kind of hang on and get some momentum. I never thought this game was going to be in doubt. I didn't come away going, oh, man, we kicked the crap out of those guys. That felt good. It was just like, hey, we got the win going into the bye.
Yeah, I texted you in the third quarter, and I said, I need to get up 3 scores against these guys to finally like exhale. But even then, I'm not like, we're not coasting at that point. We were up by 10 at that point. Then we got the other touch, and I'm like, okay, now I'm feeling a little bit better about this football game. That took to well into the third quarter before that happened.
Yeah.
So kudos to Portland State, and maybe we had a bit of a hangover. I mean, I'm sure we're pretty beat up from Weber State. I don't know, but the bye is coming at a good time.
Still a lot to talk about on Monday, so we'll ruminate on this. Let's settle in our bellies on Sunday, and then we'll get to the Golden Coolie questions. And then we go into 14 days without Bobcat football. So that kind of sucks.
It does suck. I should have gone on vacation.
Kind of a challenging week.
That's when I should have gone on vacation.
Yeah, we still haven't talked why you chose to miss South Dakota State in Gold Rush. I'm like,
I can tell you if you want. Okay. If you want me to air it out right now. But
I don't want you to get in trouble, Thorny.
That's okay. All right. Well, yeah. Anything else you want to say?
No. 4-1. Top of the Big Sky. Number two team in the nation. It's a good time to be Bobcat.
Absolutely. All right. Let's get out. Go Cats.
Go Cats.